It's so crazy, people so lazy, truly amaze me, but don't even phase thee. You sit there at the table, perfectly able, create your own destiny, be your own chef and see to create the right recipe. Use whatever's best in thee. Timing is everything, possibly only thing dynasties made like me put suffering into blame. Invest in yourself, you're you, no one else. Remember that the stress reminds us that we're blessed. Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to the Righteous Teacher Show. Thank you for tuning in, and for the next couple of minutes, we hope you receive something more valuable than silver and gold, and that is knowledge and wisdom. My goal is to inform you and inspire you to new thought and innovation, motivation and inspiration techniques to open up eyes and spark intrigue. My hope is that with this knowledge, you can transcend your current conditions. Today's topic, moving on past pain. Moving on past pain, and it's an acronym MOP. Moving on past pain. You need to mop and clean up your life to help you move on. And as always, I'm your host, Rated R. Remember the name and you'll go far. The Righteous One. Moving on past pain. Pain is a part of life. Right? You have growing pains, you have pains of changing, pains of getting older, pains of having different issues. And today I would like to start our discussion out of the good book, a story. It's about King David. King David fell in love with a young lady, but unfortunately that young lady was married. And what David does is he sends the young lady's husband, who is a soldier within his kingdom, off to a very tough battle, and the soldier dies. His name is Uriah. And they have a child. David and Uriah's wife have a child, but as punishment from God, the child is to die. And David is crying out and fasting and just a complete mess for 7 days, writhing around on the ground. Until at this point in 2 Samuel 20, he finds out that the baby is dead. Then David got up from the ground, washed himself, put on lotions, changed his clothes. He went to the tabernacle and worshiped the Lord. And after that, he returned to the palace and was served food and ate. Right? They say in life that there is no pain greater than the pain of losing a child. The pain of losing a child. And from this example, it is an obvious, visible pain that is affecting him deeply. He deeply wants this child, but it's not to be. But we always know that pain is a part of life. There's growing pains. Younger years of adolescence were painful for some people, right? Learning a hard subject area, learning the person that you are, learning the person that you're dealing with or dating after the honeymoon phase, learning through grief. We all know that there is death, but do we truly accept it? Right? Malcolm X said you'll really start to thrive in life once you accept death. Right? I like this. There's a quote from C.S. Lewis. He says, hardships often prepare ordinary people for extraordinary destinies. That hardship, that pain that you're going through is actually preparing you for another level of life, a different level of life. God develops us during storms, during times of trial and tribulation. You're being developed. You're being hardened. You're being sharpened. You're being changed. You're being converted. And always remember this, change is a process, not an event. It's not instantaneous. It takes time. It's a metamorphosis that you'll go through when you're going through change due to pain, or any type of change, but especially change due to pain, right? And things can come up without warning, right? No warning at all. All of a sudden, you're here today and you're gone today. No warning. Many people that have something die in life, and I'm not necessarily referring to like a human die, a death in a relationship, right? Of course, a person dying, a marriage that died, businesses that die, a dream that dies. These are all things that can really incur a lot of pain in someone's life. And once the death occurs, it's hurtful. We literally, after we have that pain, sometimes lock ourselves up into a little grief prison, into a continuous pity party that never seems to have an end, right? Our prisons are often not a place, but a perspective. It's a mindset. You put yourself in a mental prison. And the reason that you do this is because something hurt you. It's how you feel at the time. You're hurt. You're feeling hurt. It hurts when something that you love is dying. It hurts when something that you love dies. There's a grief process. It hurts. It's painful. Right? Doctors say that your brain can't distinguish between an actual break in a bone and an actual hurt within your body. The brain doesn't know how to distinguish that. There will be phases when you have pain, when you have grief, when you're making a break from your past, when you lose someone or something dear to you, right? There are people that get stuck in the past. Right. And a lot of times there's a mental issue. There's a mental block. If you're in a relationship, they hear a lot of, well, if I leave you, no one else will want you. You're never going to find someone like me. You're never going to get over me. Or if you lose a job, wow, if you lose that job, you're not going to get another job like that again. Ugh. Right. And then all of a sudden they get stuck in the remorse of not having that. They get trapped. They go into a mental prison. Right? The first phase of any type of pain or issue or problem is you have emotional turmoil. Tears and anger. Anxiety and sadness. Thoughts of revenge for certain situations. I know a little bit about that. Emotions are normal. You have to make sure that you express them around safe people, though. Right? You just can't give everybody the business. Right? When you get wounded and you have a physical injury, you can't expose to that wound to all kinds of germs. Right? You can't expose your internal pain to all types of people out there and things out there. Right? Because it's painful. It hurts bad. But it will pass. And you always have to keep that in mind, that it will pass. You're going through this for just a season. And sometimes you're going through it for the reason. And you have to realize what the reason that you're going through the pain is for. But you have to protect what hurts while it heals. Right? Phase 2, adjustment. You adjust to a new life. You create new normals. Maybe you had a date night, or maybe you had different activities that you would do together, right? Or phone calls late at night, or whatever. I know that me in particular, I would speak with my mother every Sunday. Every Sunday we would talk for hours about everything. 90% of the time she didn't agree with anything I was doing, but she always had my back 100% of the time. But after this transition that I've recently gone through, I had to find a new normal. Right? Adjustment period. I had a buddy, and unfortunately he's lost his mother and father this year. But he always used to say, "Oh, it's time to go back to the barracks. It's time to go back to basic." And I didn't really ever understand what he was talking about. And then it started to click into me. When you go through a training process, you are one way when you go in, but then all of a sudden you get there and boom, you're different. You have to adjust to something different. Your life was going in one direction, one pattern, one system, and now you're in a completely different system. Adjustment. Phase 3 is self-doubt. Self-doubt. Did I do the right thing? Maybe I coulda, maybe I shoulda, and it might not have happened, or she might have been able to get better, or he might have been able to get better. Right? Once your emotions settle, now your insecurities begin to bubble up. Will I ever meet someone else again? Will I ever get married again? Will I ever get a great job like that again? Will I ever get this remorse out of my heart that I'm experiencing? Right? Self-doubt. Phase 4 is acceptance. Reality begins to set in. You don't care about what happened or who that person's dating or what they're doing. You're not driving by the house or checking on their social media. And there's a reason that you don't want to do that. You don't want to keep checking someone's social media because you don't want to keep on inviting that pain back into your life. In order for you to transition, you need to change. You need to change what your new normals are. And your new normals can't be looking in the rearview mirror at your past. And sometimes people can actually get addicted to feeling bad, crying. You need to change your mental tune, like literally, like listen to upbeat music and do different things. Right? Acceptance. Phase 5 is growth. You learn about yourself. I keep saying that adversity introduces a man or woman to themselves, right? And it's true. It's a fact. I don't just keep saying because I like the saying. I do like the saying, or I heard it from Les Brown. I did hear it from Les Brown. It is a fact. Once you go through pain and adversity, it will change you. It's going to change you. And it's up to you whether it changes you for the better or not. Right? I went through a lot of growth, a lot of change. I started exercising like a crazy person. I needed to do something with all that anxiety and excess energy, and I didn't want to do something destructive. I wanted to do something productive, but I had way too much energy, way too many thoughts running through my head. In fact, my sons came down and they were able to get a first-hand look at the crazy workout 2-a-days and the diet that I'm on now. Right? And it's been a growth. It's been a positive growth. I'm healthier than I've ever been. I'm mentally more together than I've ever been. I'm now very much more spiritually connected. Right? That doesn't mean that I don't have times and moments where I still miss my mother, miss those interactions and things like that. It's just that it has changed me to where I have a different understanding as a human being. Right? In the story we were reading, David has lost his child. I can't even imagine that pain because I'm still dealing with the pain of losing my mother. Right? You do begin to forgive yourself during this growth period, phase 5. You become better. You become wiser. Those things that you went through, that pain that you went through, that loss that you went through, actually made you wiser. Your character is built during the hard times, during the difficult times. Right? right? All right, let's take a look at what David did, because what David actually did, and the reason that I read that section is because what David did are actually steps in order to mop or move on past pain, right? David didn't stay stuck. He moved on, right? He shows us steps on how to move on past hardship and grief and pain. First thing that he did was he looked up, prayed to God. The only reason that he knew what was going on is because he looked up, because he heard his people that were working for him within the palace. They were kind of talking and they were whispering. In order for him to notice that, they kind of looked up, and they were kind of scared to even let him know, because you remember he'd been writhing and crying out and just been a total mess, fasting for 7 days on the ground. He wouldn't even get changed. He wouldn't brush his teeth. He wouldn't eat. And so they were like, well, if he's acting like this when the baby is sick, what is he going to do when he finds out that the baby is dead? Right? When you're down, you can't stay down. You have to look up. You have to begin to hope again for something. Number 2, he got up. He repositioned himself. You got to get up. You got to start moving again. One thing you can't do is just sit there and sulk when something bad happens, something painful happens. You know, there's a time period for that. There's a window for that, but you can't stay in it. Right? Some people are going to join your pity party. They're going to be there for a while, but they're not going to want to stay. They're not going to want to stay. If you just lost a job or something like that, maybe it's not, you know what, it's time to reposition, retool, get a new level of education, get a new level of expertise, retool yourself. All right, third thing he did is that he washed up. Rid yourself of the guilt or shame, right? Toxic, negative emotions. There is not a human being out here that hasn't done something that they regret or that was bad or that they shouldn't have. Give it up to God and forgive yourself and move on. Learn from it. Rid yourself of the foul odor, right? And a lot of times that odor is not a smelling odor. And of course, if you're not taking a shower like David did, then you got to take a shower. But that odor is a bad attitude, right? And bad attitudes are kind of like bad breath. Everybody else is experiencing it, but the person that has it doesn't really even know it. Bad attitudes. Bad attitudes. And in one of my earlier podcasts, I talked about the importance of a good attitude. You need to change your attitude. I like this quote here. It's by Joseph Campbell. It says, "We must be willing to let go of the life we plan so that we can have the life waiting for us." Sometimes you can make the best of plans and it don't work out, or something goes bad, or something painful happens, and you gotta let it go. Here's another one by the Greek philosopher Plato. He says, "Never be angry about what you can help and what you cannot." Don't stay angry. Don't stay angry at that person. Don't stay angry at God because it happened to you. Who else would you rather it happen to? Don't stay angry. Anger is a destructive emotional feeling. If prolonged in the body, it can actually destroy the body. Anger can be good in certain aspects, in that if it's time to move on and all of a sudden you just get to that point where you're just angry about the job that you're in, they're not treating you right? The activities that you've been doing, they're not doing you right. You're utilizing substances, and then all of a sudden you realize that your life isn't going in the direction that you wanted it to go, and now you're angry, right? It can be that can be beneficial. But just being angry at somebody because you're hurt, angry at something because something didn't happen in the way that you wanted it to, is destructive and can damage your body if it's prolonged. Anoint up. Put on ointments and lotions, right? You don't want to look like what you've been through. Don't wear your attitude on your sleeve. It invites people to a pity party. I don't speak about, and I've had one of the toughest last 2 years that I think that you could possibly have. I don't even really like to speak about it anymore. I don't want the pity party. I don't want that story. And like I spoke in the earlier podcast, some of us just get so used to having stories of defeat, stories of loss, reasons for why we didn't win in that season, and it just kind of just stays where we're at. Anoint up. Change. Number 5, he dressed up. Change your clothes. In the story, he removed his mourning clothes that he was in, right? And he began to put back on his kingly reigning clothes, right? Grave clothes represent things that we used to do when we were spiritually dead. It represents addictions. It represents worldly views, right? If you, and this is going to be something, if what makes you happy or what you think makes you happy has to come from the world, then it's not going to make you happy very long. Right? These materialistic product lines that come out and do this and do that, they're not making you happy. They're distracting you, but they're not making you happy. But you have to change up how you dress. I mean, imagine I went from a size 38-40 to a size 32. I had to change my entire wardrobe, all my outfits, all my clothing. My dress had to be different. I needed to change. There was things within me that needed to change. My eating habits, my working out, my spiritual life needed to change. All right, so let's go ahead and go through what David did again. Once again, he looked up. He got up. He washed up. He anointed up. He dressed up. Another thing is that he worshiped up. He went to the tabernacle. Ever since I've been reunited and going to church, there's been a powerful transformation within my life. Hands down. And I have to go to church. I can watch maybe a sermon online, but I actually have to go into the church and actually feel that Holy Ghost and that anointing, right? And listen to that singing as it washes over me and washes all that negativity away. Reminds me of who actually is in charge. It's not me. My decisions haven't been that great. My decisions are getting better now. So worship up. You have to be spiritually grounded on something. Number 7, he ate up. Grief or going through turmoil can rob us of our appetite, or it can make us start to overeat as well. Right? When people aren't feeling good, or when people have some negativities happening, they sometimes eat bad. Can't be eating ice cream every night. Right? I started eating healthy. Feed yourself from where you're going. I have full intentions of living a lot more years and being very healthy and happy. Champions eat different than regular folks. I don't want my story to be a story of a champion. I want my story to be a story of a champion. So I'm going to make sure I fuel that vessel that's going to be taking me on this trek. Another thing about pain as far as grief is concerned, when you lose someone, if you love someone and they move on, it doesn't go away. I haven't had anybody tell me that I will forget about my mother, and I don't want to forget about my mother. Right? I just want the remorse and grief to leave my body so I can function. But I don't want to forget about her. Right? I've had relationships with people in the past. They were great relationships. I don't want to forget about that. right? They're going to be in your thoughts and your memories. You're going to carry them with you, but you're going to carry them with you. You're not going to live in them, right? Don't define yourself by where you fall, right? Understand this: whatever sits goes bad. If you leave food in the fridge and it sits, it goes bad. If you don't use your mind and it sits, it goes bad. If your body doesn't move and it sits, it goes bad. If a car sits too long in the garage or out on the street, the battery goes dead. Your battery will go dead. You'll go bad. Keep moving. Right? M.O.P.P. Moving on past pain. You have to move on past the pain. The pain has come, then the pain will go. And you have to move on past it. You have to decide that you want to live a life of joy. Joy is an attitude. If you have the right attitude, you will draw with you the right people. People like being around positive people. People like being around nice people. People like being around people that are honest and talk about things that they've gone through. It helps them. A lot of times that's the reason that you're going through the pain that you're going through. It's not even about you. It's about maybe helping somebody else. Out of your pain can come sometimes your greatest joy. When David lost his child, he reunites with his wife Bathsheba, and they have a child. And that child's name is Solomon. And Solomon is said to be the wisest man that has ever lived. So out of your greatest pain can birth your greatest joy. Be mindful of that. Be mindful of that and embrace a new life. All right. Well, that's about it for today. Hopefully this information was good. This is Rated R. Remember that name and you'll go far. Came in the game late but right on time. The ship was kind of skewed, so I need to realign. Fate of the people through the word spoke. Those with clear minds and those with the smoke. May the best teach the rest. Like Dubois, never let negativity manifest. You're a star in every sense that matters. We change by shattering the chains that bind us with the bull behind us. There's rules to this game and podcasts are the same. Put the whack kids to shame. Were we all made the same? Special cloth is all I see and want in my company. Living lovely is the key. It's really nice changing up the scenery. Good evening, and good night to you. Thank you for again listening to the show. I'm Rated R. Remember the name and you'll go far. Peace, love, and blessings.